Welcome along to EXFL Tier 2 Season 12. We are here for round 19 out of 20, the penultimate race of the season here at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. 18 minutes ahead of us for qualifying, 16 drivers in the lobby before a 50% 29-lap race, which could set the stage for quite a lot in these final two races. Today could be just as important as next week's finale. A lot to unpack. But qualifying has begun then, as the drivers are making their way out onto the track for the first time. So yeah, 16 drivers. That might stay how it is. Very low chance we'll see one more join of the likes of maybe Toby. He is unsure still, so we'll see. But for now, yeah, 16. As you can see at the top of the leaderboard, a name that you might not be familiar with in EXFL Tier 2. OG Truello. I think I'm getting that right. Or OG, I guess, is his name. Making his debut today in the Sauber as a reserve. Joined a couple hours ago into the league. Been told he's rumoured to be around the pace of IOR Fnatic, so he could potentially be in the mix. We will see. Apparently he's clean, so should be exciting stuff to see. Another new face. See what they can do in Tier 2. We've got Birdie in the Williams. He didn't actually check in, so I didn't think he was going to race today, but he's here and might be able to be another rear gunner, or maybe we'll be able to excel onto the podium for the first time this season. We've got Jack in the Ferrari once again. We've got Deadgun in the Red Bull just crossing the line, and we have Yannick. Guess I should get into the whole championship part of it then. So, both championships still well and truly undecided. Both very close in terms of points. In terms of the constructors, let's start with them. Aston Martin of Callum and Oren are 11 points ahead of RB of Yannick and Yonder. Now in these past 5 or so races, it's usually been 2 Astons versus 1 RB, or 2 RBs versus 1 Aston, or 1 Aston versus 1 RB. But tonight, we have all 4 drivers turning up, which is fantastic to see. 11 points is the difference. Aston lead ahead of RB, and Williams have a bit of an outside chance. They are trailing by 38 points to Aston, so it is a bit of an outside chance, and then an extremely outside chance is Haas, who are, I think, 58 points behind Aston Martin. So it's very unlikely for Haas. They are going to get eliminated after tonight if they do not outscore them by 15 points or so. Williams, they've got an inside chance. They have to make sure they don't get outscored by 5 points tonight by Aston, and a bit more than that by RB. But you never know. They have got a pretty strong lineup. But that is the constructors of 11 points between mainly the RB and Aston. As for the Drivers' Championship, Oren is the World Championship leader in EXFL Tier 2 as he's coming across the line to finish his first run of a 24-2. Sets the benchmark. Oren, who's gone well around here, he's had pole and a win to finish off the Season 9 campaign. The campaign that saw him fight for the championship, trailing so far behind the RB of Seb, closing up to just 2 points by Singapore. And then after that crash, it slowly slipped away from him. And Tier 2 is no stranger to certain types of stories, whether that's triumph or tribulations or redemption. And Oren is certainly falling into that category as he's returned this season. He's driven brilliantly for a lot of it. Hasn't exactly had the greatest run recently, which has reduced his gap from what was nearly 50 points down to just 3 points ahead of this man, Samurai, in the Williams. It is Samurai versus Oren for the Tier 2 Championship in Season 12. And right now, they are 4th and 6th. I think Samurai will be once again doing 2 runs like he usually does at the start of quali. He's got Alpine in front of him. Oren's managed to put a time good enough for 4th. Meanwhile, Yannick went ahead of him. Same with Grush. And then Callum has really upped his pace to the rest. 4/10 clear. Callum, the teammate of Oren, who I asked a few weeks ago after he had a great run from Singapore up until Texas last week, was a bit unfortunate. He got rear-ended by Warren into the first corner on the opening lap, went to the back, ended up retiring. Maybe that'll just be the odds anomaly towards his end of the season, because right now he's looking good. He fought for pole in Singapore, missed out by just over 600ths to his teammate Oren, but right now he's set a really good benchmark, and so has Cookster, to be within a tenth of a second of the Aston. Cookster is also pretty good at getting pretty good bankers in at the start quali, who's been very close to pole positions this season, but has always just missed out, whether being by impeded or not getting the final lap in. But you never know. These last two races, it's tier 2, anything can happen. But right now, those two at the front. Samurai crossing the line, improving to be within a tenth of his rival. I don't know if the Alpine did get in his way, because he's still right there by the end of the lap. OG putting himself in 7th at the moment, which is a pretty good showing, considering if he's level to Fnatic. Fnatic usually does tend to get a lot of laps in throughout the session and then get a good one by the end. But in between them, we got Jacob in 8th, Deadgun in 9th, Simon reserving in the McLaren this time around in 10th. V-Dub's back for his second race in his Tier 2 career after finishing, well, where he is right now, 11th, just missing out on the points on debut last week. Who was the one who made his debut last week? He isn't here today. The guy doesn't even have Insta. He's on Discord. As Oren improves, and look at Dello as well, to be the new provisional front row. The top 3 now within 43 thousandths of a second. Oren by Dello, by Callum. And now Samurai needs to respond to that. He'll head into the pits and go again. Oren saying he needs another turn of form after his recent form, mainly in the races in qualifying. It's not been that bad still. Obviously, he got pole last week in Mexico, but the race was a completely different story, where he ended up finishing in P8. Now, for the top 2 in the championship, you'd expect them to be top 3, 5 every race, but there have actually been quite a few races recently where they've both been around the 6th, 7th, 8th mark, to be fair to them. That's just because of how many others there are in contention, and whether that's strategy or incidents, maybe even between them, like we saw in Vegas, play out. It will be very interesting to see who else can throw their hat into the ring. Birdie goes within 12 thousandths of his teammate to be P8. Birdie, who's been a rear gunner of Samurai this whole season. He's been the perfect example of a second driver. But I'm sure Birdie would still love to have some glory. I'm still sure Callum would also love to have some glory. These second drivers who are the teammates to the title protagonists. Like I interviewed Callum a few weeks ago, I said, if you have the choice to help Oren or help the team with the constructors or whatnot, and he just simply said, I want to win. He wants to win a race by the end of the season, and I'm sure that's still going to be his goal now. But yeah, as we head towards the halfway point of qualifying, 3 points between Oren and Samurai. At the halfway mark, it was 30 points, and then it went as high as 43. And then Samurai got it down to 18, then it went back up to 33, then 36, then 32, and then Samurai won Texas when Oren didn't race, got it down to 7, and then last week he got 6th, and Oren got 8th, to bring it back from 7 down to just 3 points. With 2 to go, and there can only be one winner, so Samurai's heading out for his second run then, and he's got to find quite a few tenths to just improve his position, and even more than that, to gain just more than 1 place, because the top 5 are separated by just under a tenth and a half, as Grush has now tossed his hat into the ring of people fighting for this pole. It's like I always say for Tier 2, however close quali is, the race will be even closer. And if it's a close quali, then you know it's going to be anyone's game. OG up by just over a tenth come the middle sector. But now he heads into the twisty, tight, technical part where the wings are going to really matter. Pretty much flat through the penultimate corner in qualifying. In the race, it's a bit of a different story. Round the final corner then for the Sauber. Goes up to P7, demotes both Williams down a place. But he manages to put his car nearly 7 tenths off the top. Oren's still in the pit lane. Same with Gush and Yannick. Samurai is about to begin his next run of the Yas Marina circuit here under the night sky in Abu Dhabi. So on the power then, cross the line. Heading into turn 1, burning a little bit of battery, seeing the boards on the right, into the first corner then. Takes a very nice indeed. Slight miss of the apex, but full throttle here through turn 3. Pretty easy corners. Your focus will be on turn 5. Heavy braking zone, finishes the first sector split, quarter of a tenth up But as a sector, you probably have to worry about the least. Getting the power on, making sure there's no sudden twitches. Blasting the battery, DRS on. And obviously lower wings will help on this part of the track. Through probably the most important part of the track, the chicane. It's so important to get the exits, entry and apex speeds bang on, which is done pretty well in terms of momentum. DRS on again for the second straight in succession. Finishing the middle sector split now. Up by just under a tenth. Heading down into the long left-hander as Cookster now does a 23.4 to put himself 0.2 nearly clear of Oren and have a little bit of distance into the final couple corners. Remember, Samurai had an Alpine around him when he did his current lap that's 0.9 off the pace, so maybe, as we've seen for the last few weeks, Sector 3 seems to be the most powerful sector in terms of lap time to find for not just Samurai but a lot of drivers. So Samurai will cross the line and he goes to the top. He found nearly a whole second in one sector. I wasn't kidding. When it comes to Sector 3s recently being that mighty, that sums it up. Wow. So Samurai back at the front then, and he sure did need that. I knew it would be a bit of an improvement, but not that much. Fair play. Because I said last week in qualifying, Samurai and Oren know what's on the line, and it's just something about the final few races for the top two that just spark that extra bit of time where they put a bit more effort in here and there. And yeah, they're fighting for it. We've only seen once this whole season Samurai and Oren be 1-2 at the end of a race, and it was Austria, where they were fighting all of the first stint. Samurai did a 2-stop, Oren did a 1-stop. Oren hung on by 2 seconds to the chasing Samurai to win that race. A very important 7-point swap, because if Samurai won that race, then Samurai would be leading by about 10 points or so, or 4 or whatever. But yeah, obviously a championship isn't won over the course of just one race, it's won over the course of a season, and Dello now, by 36 thousandths, pops his Mercedes up to the front. Dello, another driver we've seen this season, remarkable over a lap, and very good in the race as well. As of recent, it's been a bit on and off, because obviously now Dello's a race winner, winning Singapore and last week in Mexico. That brilliant drive on the tyres to deliver a second win. Those have been great, but the other times, it's either just gotten away from him, like we saw in Texas a fortnight ago, where the second stint just didn't exactly go to plan for him. For Abu Dhabi, tyre wear is going to be key. We've seen Oren struggle a little on tyre wear, mainly last week and mainly Baku. Samurai, of course, does struggle on tyre wear just in general, a bit more than everyone else, so that could also be an interesting point. 2-stop, it's mainly for races that have over 30 laps. And with this one having 29, it's a bit touch and go, with the pit lane not being that short. So you might just have to make do and just look after the tyres a little bit, especially the right-hand side with some of these long, sweeping left-hand corners. But most of the drivers are in the pits then, gearing up for their final run. So right now, Dello is on provisional pole, just ahead of Samurai, and then Cookster. Owen has got nearly half a second to find, but I'm sure he can. It literally is kind of anyone's game right now. Grush, I'm sure, might be able to do 2 runs, as he's done many times this season. Yannick, 7th. Yonder will probably start at the back, even with a championship on the line for the constructors. He does get quite close to actually not being last there. But yeah, Yonder and Fnatic are fighting for, was it 7th in the championship as well? I think Fnatic is, well, he's close with Callum, and then Yonder's ahead of them. And then Toby's obviously ahead of them, but he's not here at the moment. And then, well, Grush got quite a bit of a gap ahead of Yannick. It was 3 points, then 5 points, and then obviously Yannick didn't race last week, and Grush got P2. So Grush 23 points ahead of Yannick. If he can outscore him by 3 points tonight, then Grush has secured P3 in the standings, which will be a great result for him. The winner of the opening round, the halfway mark at his home race, and a few other podiums and a lot of pole positions to his name. Him and Oren are level this season. 6 pole positions for both of them. Could one of them be in shout of a 7th? Well, Grush is up by 41 thousandths in the middle. But like I said, with Samurai's time, the last seems to be where all the lap time could be. And Grush was one of those drivers last week in Mexico who found a lot of time in the last sector, both today and last week. Sector 3 being the most technical, where the higher wings pay off compared to the lower wings on the straights in the second and first. But we'll see where that McLaren can pop itself. There was a car on the inside there as Grush crosses the line and he goes to P3 within a tenth of pole. I'm pretty sure there was a car on the inside there. It was a Red Bull or RB. It was an RB of Yonder heading in. Anyway, the rest gearing up on their outlaps and beginning their laps. Cookster's down by 48 thousandths in the middle sector. Oren's heading out as well. He'll be one of the last to cross the line. Look back to Cookster. Bit deep into the right-hander. Sliding around, really pushing, trying to find any amount of time, but he's pushed too hard and he's invalidated his lap time. And will he have enough fuel to go again, or is that it for Cookster? Well, he's coming around the final corner. And with 1 minute 23 lap time and 1 minute 30 to go, he will have to charge his battery up for this one, but not lose too much time and try and go again as the Ferrari behind him crosses the line of Jack to complete his lap. There we go. Yonder will start this race at the back. We've seen a lot of races this season where Yonder's managed to drag that RB from the back to even the podium, nearly fighting for wins, but okay, most of the time top 5s and top 10s and whatnot. So we'll see what he can do. But yeah, both Astons 5th and 6th with RB behind him and then the other RB at the back. Callum up by nearly a tenth in the first sector. And considering that's a pretty short sector, and if that can continue on, you never know what he could do. Oren's coming around the final couple of corners to start his lap. Samurai has just begun his final lap of qualifying as well. And unfortunately, he's invalidated on the exit of turn 1. And that will be it for the Williams. So Oren, exiting turn 1, keeps it within track limit. Sparks underneath the Aston. No, well, I don't know if he knows at the time. He has a big chance here to out-qualify his rival. And boy, does he need it. With the form he says he has been having recently, 17 thousandths up in the first. Let's look back to his teammate Callum, who's up by over a tenth. Cookster has got 10 seconds to go to cross the line. I don't know if he'll make it. What about Dello? He's just begun his final lap as well. Any improvement? A tenth in the first sector for the Mercedes. Bit of a lock-up on the right. Grush through the middle. Cookster's done. That'll be P4 at best. Callum crosses the line, bit squirrely, out of the exit, goes up to P5, demotes his teammate, down to P6. But Oren will surely be finding enough time. Come the middle sector, it's just under a tenth and a half. But the last sector is where you can find all your time. Yannick slightly down. Grush is slightly down. Dello's finishing the middle sector split. In a few seconds' time, is he up by even more? He is. So Dello's looking like he's going to claim pole position. But what can Oren do then? Samurai's invalidated and will be P2 at best. Grush crosses the line. He's third. So where can Oren place his Aston? His main rival is P2. Oren crosses the line. And by 67 thousandths, he's on provisional pole. So it's now down to Dello to keep up this time he's up by to knock Oren off pole position. 1 corner left for the Mercedes. He's up by enough time to snag pole position. Dello crosses the line and he's into the 22s by just under 2.5 tenths. Dello's on pole position, but the two championship rivals are right behind him in second and third. Bernie Saints, out of nowhere, by 100th, has just taken his first ever pole position in EXFL Tier 2. Williams, right at the end, had one more card up their sleeves, and it was Bernie who took it. Wow! Fair play to Williams and Birdie right at the end, out of nowhere. Qualifying that has been such a struggle for him in the past. He's been getting better and better with a best position of second recently. But that really did come out of nowhere, and Dello thought he had it. I thought he had it, but Birdie has delivered a mega lap right at the end to knock Dello to the end of the first row and put the championship rivals locking out the second row. Grush 5th, Cookster 6th, Callum 7th, Fnatic 8th, Yannick 9th. OG on his debut gets a top 10 start. It's the end of qualifying and I'm already losing my voice. Wow. Fair play. Well done, Birdie. That is more like it. We've been waiting to see him top a session. Fair play. Right then. So, that is 2 Williams in the top 4. So, Samurai has a bit of a helping hand as Callum's down a few places. And Yonder will start at the back. Fair play. We have a new pole sitter then. Another one. Fantastic. Right, formation lap time. We're going to see what tyres everyone started on. And I might just go quickly get a drink because I can see myself losing my voice by the end of lap 1. And I'll sound horrible for the rest of it. So we'll quickly have a look at the tyres and then some. Right. Wow. That's a rare sight where Birdie actually doesn't start on the hards. Everyone on the mediums apart from Jack and Simon on the softs. So we'll see how that develops. I'm going to quickly, All right. Birdie Saints then leads his first ever formation lap in EXFL Tier 2. Approaching nearly 40 races in the tier and finally his first pole position. But is he torn? Is he going to go off into the distance and win his first ever race? Maybe just even get his first podium of the season and his second overall after his only one in Baku last season. Because all season he's been playing second to Samurai, helping him out when he needed to. Maybe his best bet tonight is literally by helping him out just to sail off into the distance, take away the possible chance of a win for Oren. Because while all eyes, it's a typical Tier 2 story, while all eyes are usually on the top 2, there are others making their way forward for the next season and whatnot, making their stand now, achieving their firsts of things, first pole, podium, wins, points, and whatnot. So it's all to play for, it's all to drive for, and Oren and Samurai know what's on the line today. If they finish like this, 3 points would go to 6. If they swap, then they would be level on points heading into the final race. But anything can happen. Birdie has actually failed his grid slot. Same with OG on debut in P10. But all 16 drivers then are lined up and we can get the penultimate race of the season underway. It's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in Tier 2 Season 12. It's lights out and away we go. Birdie versus Dello off the line. It looks like Dello's got a good start towards the inside line. The Mercedes ahead of the Williams, who hangs around the outside, goes off the track slightly. Oren still ahead of Samurai, who's right behind his championship rival. And Birdie has lost out to Dello into turn 1 as we see Yonder making up moves. So it's Dello, the leader, into turn 5 ahead of Birdie, then Oren, and then Samurai looking to the inside. Oren in a Williams sandwich as he's in P3. There's contact behind of OG on debut getting spun around. So into the slipstream then. Looks like Birdie is still flying away with the Mercedes and Samurai is looking to the inside of the Aston 2. The top 2 in the race, the top 2 in the World Championship, side by side. Birdie around the outside, reclaims the lead and Samurai just finds a way past his rival. But Oren is not going to let that go. They're both blasting their battery, wheel to wheel. The 2 championship protagonists, Samurai on the inside, Oren round the outside on Samurai, who still keeps his foot in. But there is Callum as well, fighting away with Dello. Samurai did stay ahead of Oren, who now has to slam on the brakes to avoid his rival. They're so close to contact as Dello got caught up in it as well. Dello ahead of Samurai and Oren, who are still fighting. Samurai over the curb, makes Oren go wide, off the track slightly, but Samurai has managed to get ahead of his rival on the opening lap. Callum has cleared 2 cars to make sure Aston also have a rear gunner as Grush hits Cookster around, and unfortunately he's spun by the end of the first lap. Chaos, like usual. So Yannick's up 3 places, Grush is down 2 places, Simon and Yonder up 4 and 5 places, and now they're swapping between themselves. But that was crucial for Williams. Birdie lost the lead, then got it back on Dello, who came into the clutches of Samurai and Oren. I thought another Mercedes had joined the pair, but Dello's obviously the lone Mercedes today. And Samurai trying to make it a Williams 1-2 like it was in Texas on the road. And Oren, that was a cracking fight with the top 2. They played it pretty much fair the whole race. I knew I'd lose my voice by the end of the first lap. Bit of a moment there with Dubs and Simon. Dubs getting a penalty. Looks like he's giving it back. And through goes Deadgun on the pair of them as well. Oren closing up to Samurai, who's on the back of Dello. And can't quite do anything for now. So Birdie stays in front. I think those 2 bollards have just been destroyed. Oh, one of them. And you can see how much more confidence Samurai has at the start of this race compared to Dello. Williams on it, as there's a yellow for a salvo of Adam, I believe, who's dropped down. So we start lap 3 then. Birdie has nearly got Dello outside of a second. Now he has. That's going to be close when they head to that green dot at the end of sector 1. The detection zone. Right now, Birdie has got Dello out of it. They're all blasting their battery pretty much down to the bottom. Oren still sticking with Samurai. More yellows. I believe that's Jack now who's had a moment. Dubs with another time penalty. So, Samurai can see that red light flashing, but Oren can see Samurai's red light flashing. Samurai will go for the move on Dello, but Oren is going to make it 3 wide to the inside, backs out slightly. Make sure it doesn't cause anything too early on. Samurai still hanging around the outside and gets the move done on Dello, and Oren trying to clear a path for him too. And he should have the battery to do so compared to Dello. So Samurai and Oren both getting past the Mercedes and are both back up into 2nd and 3rd now. And there's Callum as well, trying to take a move on Dello. Can't quite get past. So it is a Williams 1-2. Birdie ahead of Samurai, ahead of Oren. Under the night sky. This is pretty much kind Jesus Christ. This is pretty... Yeah, I'm going to lose my voice like it was at the end of last season at this rate. This is pretty much like the end game of what's predicted for this season. Birdie this time, not a second ahead of 2nd. Keeping Samurai close, but Oren knows it. And he's going to try his best. More yellows. Is that Cookster again? 2nd time in 4 laps he's spun at the same area of the track. Don't know what's happened there. Oren, slightly more battery. Well, I guess double the battery of Samurai. Just sticking with his teammate. And what's the game plan for Williams? Does Birdie let Samurai go? Hold the rest up? Does he just keep him with him? Is Birdie quicker at the moment? Williams have played a lot of good team games over the course of this season. And it looks like Birdie is going to let Samurai through. What will Oren do? Can he take advantage of this? Is he close enough to Birdie? He knows exactly where to place his car. There's contact between Oren and Birdie. As Birdie stays behind Samurai. Oren drops down behind Dello. And Callum right behind him will make sure not to overtake Oren. So there's drama on lap 4. Oren tried round the outside of Birdie, who went defensive. And I really don't know if there was much else Birdie could do there. Or if Oren just drove into him. It's that contact model on the just behind the front axles. I guess that's where Oren hit him. And that's what's demoted Oren down a place. But now Samurai, who started on the 2nd row by lap 5, is into the lead. And he's got his rear gunner of Birdie right behind him. And I think Oren has just gotten away with damage.
Yeah, he's not got any damage visibly. And now there's another car in between him and Birdie. It's always a touchy subject, that one. Teammates of rivals. And Oren's no stranger to that, obviously, as Cookster's retired in the pit lane, unfortunately. Birdie with plenty of battery to use, as he obviously put it in none on this straight last lap to let Samurai through. Is it in Samurai's interest to just keep Birdie with him, or can Samurai run off into the distance? As Fnatic and Yannick are fighting away. Whoa, for P6. Yannick on the inside is ahead of the Haas. Grusha's dropped down to 8th while all that was happening. Yonder's up to 9th while all that was happening. So that is both RBs, both Astons in the points. 100% battery for Birdie. I wonder if, for Samurai's sake, his best option might be to keep Birdie with him. That way he saves some tyre wear. But the gap is nearly a second. And the more the gap increases, the less Samurai has to worry about a potential undercut, because he'll have a bit of free time to think about it. But right now, if any of these guys pit, I think they would undercut everyone, because you can gain a couple seconds in one lap with the undercut. Well, I really should have brought a glass of water. Oh well, whatever. We plough on. Samurai 7.5 tenths ahead of Birdie, who can blast all he wants. Dello with half of what Birdie has. Oren with barely anything to play with. They're all very different. Obviously, Fnatic's really good on battery, so he's going to blast when he needs to. To the inside of Yannick. Just about finds a gap around the outside. Yannick over the bump, but he doesn't go wide. And they remain wheel to wheel. Yannick slams the door to the left. Now, Fnatic can see the red light flashing. Now he can see Yannick in his mirrors. And now Fnatic's up in a P6. Not much Yannick could do there. Just didn't have the battery. It's very important. You can see the train behind Birdie, who's getting his elbows out in defense to Dello. And Samurai's not running away. Kicked me out my party there. You see Oren all over the back of Dello now, trying to claim that place that he lost against the Williams. And I'll just remind you lot, I reminded the drivers before this, but the inside line heading into the final corner when you pit, sometimes, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, can give you an unfair exceeding track limits warning right here. It's been in the game for quite a few years now. So if someone towards the end does maybe get a 3-second time penalty, just take it with a little pinch of salt. You never know if they got it when heading into the pit lane. That is something we just always have to wonder about when we come to Abu Dhabi. It's nowhere else really that happens. Anyway, lap 7, we resume. Oren knows his championship's on the line, because right now, things are looking good for Williams. But it's still early doors. Birdie right behind his teammate. And maybe they'll even swap. But for Samurai's sake, he'll want to stay ahead. He's got enough battery. I can't see anyone with any fuel light issues. But I can definitely see red lights. And it's in the form of Dello. Just saving a bit more battery because he's really low. Oren, does he spy an opportunity to get Dello in a bit more of an unconventional place that's not a DRS zone? He does, but he's not going to go for it because he's not close enough for now. But look at this, top 9 all within a second of one another, while the rest have just fallen victim to their own incidents. Cookster's out. Adam, I don't know what happened. Jack, I think he pitted. Deadgun, don't know. Simon, don't know. And OG, I think he had a moment. He's going wide there as well throughout the last sector. And V-Dubs, he's just a bit on his own, but right now he's getting a... Well, actually, no, OG's still getting the point, isn't he? But right now, V-Dubs is 10th. But yeah, this top 9, at the end of the season, they know what they're doing. And they're giving it everything. Samurai, as much as he was happy about winning Texas a fortnight ago, said he was a bit disappointed, mainly in Birdie, that they didn't manage to get that Williams 1-2 because Birdie had his penalties that dropped him off the podium. Maybe this time round they can do that. But right now they've got a great formation. They know exactly what to do. As there's Fnatic fighting away with Callum. Side by side, Callum, I think has just turned in sharply there on the Haas. Not letting him through, doing what Birdie's doing. protecting his teammate up ahead, but there's not much he can do now. He's out of battery, and Fnatic gets ahead, and so does Yannick. That's a crucial move for the constructors. RB versus Aston Martin. And because Callum didn't have the battery, he's let through these two, and Gurush and Yonder will also want to do the same. But that's kind of split the train down the middle now. I'm getting my voice back, that's good. Because Fnatic's lost DRS to Oren, which frees up the top 4. And something Williams can't do, they obviously can't pit on the same lap. If there's any sort of safety car, Birdie's going to be a bit on the back end of that. But to play the opposite to that, devil's advocate, we have not had a safety car since round 7 in Italy. So it's been 12 weeks. That's a very key move. Callum's into the pits on lap 9. Is he planning to maybe undercut them all of them and get ahead of the Williams? This is going to be quite spicy. Hopefully they play it fair. Harsh but fair. Right now, Orange still just can't find a way past. You can see second, third, fourth. The battery just increases throughout the 3 of them. And Samurai doing all he can out in front. Birdie just letting them know, you try anything, I will defend. And besides that one little hairy moment at turn 9 between Birdie and Oren, which on first glance generally didn't seem like Birdie's fault. It just seemed like Oren misplaced his car on the turn-in. But I don't think there was anything malicious about it. So ignoring that, so far the team play is working. As we see Gurush fighting with Yannick. 4p6. This is allowing Fnatic to make it a 5-car train and split it with these two. Because they're still wheel-to-wheel. Yannick to the inside stays ahead of the McLaren. And RB know they need these points because the 11-point gap will increase to Aston Martin. They've done all their best to close up and stay there. But Aston know they have one driver who's also fighting for the Drivers' Championship of Oren, which has really propelled them high up. As we saw there was Dello losing it at the exit of the last corner. None of the top 4, 5, or just 8 in general pitted. So Callum's going to get a bit of an undercut here. He's going for a 2-stop as he pitted onto medium compound tyres. So 9, and then he'll probably do another 9, and then maybe the last 11 or so, he will go onto the hard compound tyres. Not exactly the worst strategy to try, but I'm sure the rest will try the one. Yellows of Jack facing the wrong way there. Spins it back around. And gets going as OG gets a penalty. We see a swap for the lead. Birdie has decided to overtake Samurai there. It looks like he blasted, but now he's on the battery. Looks like he's going to stay in front. Jack speeds into the pit lane. Samurai blasting to try and get back in front of Birdie, but it looks like Birdie wants to stay ahead of Samurai now. And that puts him under a bit of pressure from Dello and Oren behind, but Dello is actually not that close to him at the moment. So right now, Birdie back in front of the Williams, looking to get a move on. And you can just see the pace Birdie has had while sitting behind and saving. Birdie, who's usually had to make his way through the field a lot of times because of his qualifying. And we've waited for the day where he starts right at the front. What can he do? And he can just control the race. And there, into the pit lane, is Dello. That will make Oren over a second behind Samurai, I believe. Jack has retired while all that was happening as he's left the session. Samurai sticking within a second of Birdie, just about. It's going to be a bit nip and tuck. Same with Oren and Samurai. Protection points coming up. Medium, overtake. Yeah, okay, Samurai's got it. And Birdie. And Oren does not. Callum, fastest lap of the race, 26.8. While these guys are in the 28s, 29s. So you can be very confident to assume that Callum will be ahead of these lot when they've all pitted. As there's Fnatic getting past Oren. And this might not be the worst thing for Oren because, well, as long as he doesn't hit the back of Fnatic again, he can maybe use Fnatic to trail him closer to the Williams. Because Fnatic always likes to go long on his stints. So can maybe drag Oren along because it looks like Oren's struggling battery-wise, pace-wise, tyre-wise. And right now, it's just not working enough for him, while Williams have got a plan. But Aston do as well, in the form of Callum. Dello came out 3.2 seconds behind the Aston, and Dello was within a second of the leader, give or take. So Callum will definitely be ahead of Birdie whenever he decides to pit. But watch for Fnatic. When I said earlier that OG apparently was claimed to be on the pace of Fnatic, maybe that's just a bit lacking. The yellows were Simon there. 2 Williams stay out. Fnatic stays out as well. But Oren, like we expected, to pull the undercut, is in. And the 2 RBs stay out as well, along with Grush, who's gotten ahead of Yannick, who's also fallen behind his teammate Yonder. So Yannick's lost 2 places. So Oren will be the first to pit onto the hards to go to the end of the race, while Callum will have to pit again. But Oren trying to get an undercut on Samurai, and Samurai will know that. So which Williams pits first? Usually the one in front gets priority, but we will see. You can see that front right on Samurai's a lot more worn, I'd say, compared to Birdie's. Yonder making his way past his teammate, now trying to get past Grush. Samurai blasting everything because he knows Oren will be doing the same in attempt of an undercut. Oren 23 seconds behind the leader. Simon with a penalty. You can see Samurai just trying to get the power on the engine, screaming on the exit there. So does he respond? Does he stay out one more lap? Because this is around about the time you can pit for hards to go to the end. 12, 13, 14, whatnot. Right now, I'd predict Samurai will pit this lap, Birdie next lap, and maybe even Fnatic the lap after, but we will see. No, Birdie stays out, which allows Samurai to pit. That is probably what was going to always happen. So Samurai enters the pit lane, gets it slowed down. He has to respond to Oren, which is what he's done. As yeah, look at that. Delo came out 4 seconds ahead of Oren. That's just how powerful the undercut is. So this is going to be quite interesting to see where Samurai comes out in response to his rival. He's going underneath the tunnel as Oren's heading into turn 1. He should about just beat him, but it's going to be close. You can see Oren on the right there. This is going to be very close indeed between the 2 championship rivals. Oren sees Samurai in front, but Samurai has to get those tyres warmed up, but he's within DRS, and now we are going to see a fight between Samurai and Oren. As Oren with 25%, Samurai with 65%. Oren's got the battery to counter it as Simon's causing yellows, but Oren has that DRS, and he knows he will risk it. He will go for it, and Samurai looks like he's not even going to fight it. So Oren is ahead now of Samurai. So will they continue to swap? Does Oren, as Grush gets ahead round the outside, Yonder gets ahead round the outside of Grush, gets on the power and gets the job done. Will Samurai fight back at Oren, who's got no battery to defend? Samurai blasts his battery and is back in front of the Aston. That was probably coming from a mile off. So Samurai playing it smart on the first straight to get back ahead of him on the second. Now his tyres are up to temperature. Now we'll see if Oren can stick with. And now we'll see, what do the top 2 do? They stay out. And look at that, Birdie's actually gapped Fnatic a little bit. Maybe Fnatic made a mistake, or Birdie's really just put the power down, because the gap was a lot smaller than that. Yonder stays out, Grush is in, followed by Yannick. Callum is about, what, 5-6 seconds ahead of Samurai. Delo's in the middle, of course, as Samurai will try and close that gap down to the Mercedes, with Oren hanging on. Yannick and Grush put the hard compound tyres on. They're going to the end. They're all going to the end, apart from Callum. I wonder if Callum will put softs on. You never know. Probably not. So Oren, 6.5 tenths behind. 40% to Samurai's pretty much 70. And how much does Oren decide to blast? He's put it in hot lap. But you can see the gap's still going up because hot lap is enough. And now Oren realizes I've got to put a bit of overtake on to make sure I don't lose DRS to the Williams. Gets it stopped pretty well through the chicane. We'll still have DRS once again. There's the detection point of that white line. Then he gets DRS again. Now he knows he has to blast overtake instead of hot lap, because hot lap doesn't do anything. Making sure not to blast all of it, because he would be in a dire position then. Samurai has had to blast quite a lot though. But it's good to see these 2 fighting, because they know whoever finishes ahead of the other is huge heading into the final race. If Samurai beats Oren, the gap could literally be 1 point, maybe even 0. If Oren beats Samurai, then it could still be a winner-takes-all situation. Let's look at that. Birdie and Fnatic have made their tyres last half race distance. Fair play. And Yonder's made his last even more than that. Oren, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, for good measure. Dello 2.2 behind Callum. Samurai 1.6 behind Oren. Birdie and Fnatic are coming out quite a way back behind them, but they are going to be very quick and will be closing up to Oren. Now Oren has to watch his back because Birdie is the car behind, and he's already had one run in with him. And Birdie, he's quick, but at this stage of the race and at this kind of stage of the season, he is going to be absolutely fearless. The Samurai should be able to get DRS off Dello here soon. As Dello looks like he's not going to be able to get DRS on Callum yet. His mediums will start to fall off though. Honda's mediums must be screaming as well. So Samurai can see Dello right in front of him. Might actually hold him up a little throughout this next minute or so. What can Oren do? He got right up close to the back of the Williams there. And we know Oren does like an opportunistic move here and there, but he's the World Championship leader. He's fighting for this championship. He knows he can't do anything too over the limit. Borderline stupid. We know how good he is at defense. Now he has to attack. And we can see Dello really under pressure from Samurai. And any sort of opportunity Oren sees, he'll probably go for it. Birdie now gets a 3-second time penalty, which has let him down off podium so many times it's happened again. But we still got 13 laps to go. And you get the sense that Dello might get overtaken by the pair of them here, like it was with earlier in the race when Samurai and Oren got past him. It might be deja vu here in the Twilight Country. Oren to the inside. That's infamous. But it's not quite enough. Samurai gets on the power with more battery, and now he's going to blast it all. So like I said, Oren spied a gap, went for it, couldn't quite make it work. And Samurai staying behind because he wants the DRS, but he's looking to the inside to make sure Oren doesn't spy a move. Oren round the outside. Can he keep it? Yes, he can. Samurai gives him the room. And Oren, once again, on the exit, is put into a point where he can't get more momentum than Samurai, who's playing this very well indeed. Blasts his battery, gets ahead of Dello, and Oren needs to do the same. To the inside on the Mercedes. He's got to make it work to make sure Samurai doesn't get ahead. On the power, to the inside. Dello still fighting this with the Aston Martin. Wheel to wheel between the pair. Oren around the outside. Can he do it? He goes off the track. And Dello hangs around the outside. There's contact between them, and Dello has lost the place to Oren. That was a bit on the limit. Oren left the track, rejoined, still was pretty much behind alongside and whatnot, so that's also a bit iffy. But main point is, Oren is ahead of Dello. But I guess the next talking point of the race will be who is ahead of Samurai right now. But considering where Samurai has caught Callum now on the track, what can Callum even do to defend? Samurai is in an Aston sandwich, but I'm sure Birdie will soon find himself... I'm sure Oren will find himself in a Williams sandwich soon. We'll see. Samurai blasting the battery. Callum going defensive, moves to the left, so Samurai will just fly past on the right. Callum's already blasted all his battery. A send from here would be a bit much, so he stays behind. And Samurai should be able to just get ahead. Look at the traction, the difference in tyre wear. Samurai knows Callum will be fighting back, but look at the gap. So Callum's probably best interest is just to keep Oren close. We can see Dello closing up. We can see Birdie's now nearly within a second. Team play, team games. And which one's working out best right now? Williams have done enough to combat the Aston charge. Bit of lag there as well. But Samurai played that very well, very smartly. And right now it's put him back into the lead. Now he just needs to look after his tyres and make sure no one gets close to him again, because Callum will just get further and further behind. Yellows for Adam there. There we go, Callum losing it on the exit. He's just over pushing the car now. Birdie, fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's right on the tail of these four now, as Samurai will try and get Callum outside of a second, which he has done. So Callum will surely let Oren through. And Dello and then Birdie. Is Birdie already going to try and overtake Dello here? Yes, he is. Down the inside goes the Williams to make it 2 Astons and 2 Williams in the top 4. I'm sure Birdie will be annoyed about that 3, but you never know by the end what the gaps will be. There goes Oren past his teammate. And now it's the fight of the 2 rivals teammates. And there is no fight because Birdie sails past Callum. And Callum, I mean, they're playing fair, which is great to see. If this was season 5 or 6, it could have been a completely different story. But this is cool to see. But now, Birdie arrives on the tail of Oren. They are both blasting everything. They've both got nothing left. Is Birdie going to go for it? Oren to the left. And now it's inverted from last time round. And there's once again a little bit of contact. But Birdie has gone through all of them again. Birdie's ahead of Oren. But Oren's fighting back at the Williams. Round the outside. Round 3. And Oren this time around keeps on the track. Will Birdie leave him the room? Yes, he will. Will Oren leave Birdie the room? No, he won't. He shoves Birdie off the track. Birdie with the switchback. Find a way with the Aston. Round the outside goes the Aston. And Oren stays in front for now. Birdie played it fair, but Oren is not playing fair. He knows he can see that win slipping out of his hands. Birdie just trying to do what he can, but actually he's the one getting forced. And once again, Oren has turned in on the Williams. And Oren, I think, is losing his head slightly because I think all of those may have been on him. That's so unfortunate for Birdie. He'll get back into this race and I'm sure he'll close that gap back down. That frees up Fnatic now. But Oren, it's just falling away from him slightly now. He could have just let Birdie go and then seen what he could have done because Birdie had the 3 seconds and they could have still been 1-2. 3 points would have gone to Samurai having a 4-point lead as there's Dello fighting away with Oren, but the championship leader is in turmoil with 10 laps to go, and now he's definitely going to have some under investigations on him come the end of the race, and it might not even be second that he gets because Dello is there to take P2 away from the championship lead up 4 now, because right now Samurai has probably got the biggest smile in Abu Dhabi. With 10 laps to go, he knows it's not over, but right now everything's falling into play for him, and Oren is struggling. Yellows for the Alpine taking the old layout somehow. Wow, what a crazy couple laps. Birdie at this corner. He's just trying to be on the outside of Oren, but Oren just shoves him off the track. And then turn 1, Oren just turns in on Birdie like he's not even there. Both Astons have actually done that. Callum did it at the chicane in between both straights on, I forgot, I think it was Callum. Just turned in like it wasn't even there, but yeah, the fight resumes then, and that's going to bring Fnatic into it. It's going to be close if he gets DRS. He's in it, and there's the detection. He's got it. So can Oren use Dello now to close up to Samurai? How good is Dello's pace compared to the Williams? And what about Birdie? Because we've always known, I mean, this time last season when he was fighting with Kobe at this very part, nearly forcing him off. And Birdie's, you know, reduce that aggressiveness, but he's still incredibly quick for the tier. But now it's just full 180'd. The people he's fighting, mainly Oren, are doing what Birdie did to himself last season, this season. But anyway, they're getting ever closer. Fnatic spies a gap on the outside, but can't quite get ahead of Dello for now. If anything, watch out for Fnatic, because there's been a few times now Fnatic has been chasing down the leader, which I think every time has been Samurai, and this could be the defining moment. Oren, for his sake, might want to let Fnatic through to steal the win off Samurai, because that's 7 less points for the Williams, because Fnatic has chased Samurai down in Spa, and it wasn't quite enough, but he's chased Samurai down in the likes of Baku and whatnot, and it was enough. So this could be very defining, how quickly Fnatic gets past these two if he wants to chase down Samurai. Oren and Dello have actually taken about half a second out of the Williams in this last lap or two. It was 2.8, now it's 2.1. Oren has just shifted it into another gear now. He's left Dello a bit behind. And he's trying to close it down, but this is cool to see. The top 2 in the World Championship, 1 and 2, because they have been the most consistent drivers. Not always at the front in terms of 1 and 2, but right now they are. Oren's race has been a lot more difficult than Samurai's, as there goes Fnatic on the inside of Dello, who's trying to hang it around the outside. Oren, little twitch as well, side by side. Fnatic leaves Dello just enough room. That's how you do it. And the Haas is through onto the podium, and now he spies an opportunity to overtake Oren. Oren looks like he's not going to fight it too hard. Fnatic round the outside, gets up into second place, and Oren tags him a little, saying, get a move on, drag me to Samurai, because that's my only chance now. And the only other thing, I guess, would be 3-second time penalties, which these lot have done pretty well not to get. Birdie, as much as he's very quick, might just be pushing it on the limit too hard. I think that's probably his last thing he needs to overcome before getting podiums and wins and whatnot is time pens. But Dello struggling now as, of course, of the top 5, he was the first to pit. And that will help Birdie, who's already caught these lot. 4-way fight now for P2. Samurai has closed, well, has got it back up to 2.8 of what it originally was 2 laps ago. This race is flying by. 7 to go then. Can Fnatic snatch the win off Samurai? Because right now, I mean, I don't even know, because I was going to go into this whole thing about if Fnatic wins and Samurai's second and Oren's third, they're level on points. But surely Oren might get a penalty or two for what he did to Birdie. And that depends on Yonder and Yannick and Grush. And if an Aston gets a pen and the RBs gain, considering Callum's down there in ninth now, this could mean big for both championships. It's all going to happen. It's a long way from over. Fnatic has just taken 8 tenths out of Samurai on this lap alone. So, you need a hero. Here comes Birdie again, trying to help his teammate out. There's 1, 2 to go. V-Dubs is out in the pit lane. So Birdie's got past Dello. Next up is Oren. And, well, round 4 between these two. Birdie's actually got a very little amount of battery. They're all pushing to the limit. This is exciting, intense stuff. 2.1. Looks like Samurai's wings are what's helping. Fnatic usually likes to go low on wings. So he must be pretty good on the straights. And Samurai must be pretty good in the corners. If he's managing to keep the gap how it is. But he's also probably trying to look after his tyres. It might be down to how quick Birdie can get past Oren. Can he get Fnatic and hold them up again? Because if it's 8 tenths per lap, Fnatic will be on Samurai by the end of the race. Easily. And then we will have another fight. But I think all eyes should be on these two. What's going to happen again? 37, 30, 43. Birdie will pressure Oren to try and overtake Fnatic. If it gets all messy, that might be exactly what Birdie wants. Because he's blasting his battery. What about Oren? No, he's not doing it. He's just letting Birdie go. I think Birdie even gave Oren a hit there. Like, thanks a lot for earlier, mate. Don't know if that's completely good, but I didn't catch that fully. I caught the onboard of Dello's POV a bit. But anyway, Birdie's got past Oren, who didn't really fight it too much. And now he's got the DRS to come back and hold off Oren, I think. Just about. Yeah, Oren stops blasting. So Birdie is at least ahead of him. But for Fnatic, that might be Birdie's next target. Don't focus on Oren, even though his teammate's rival. You need to focus on Fnatic, because Fnatic has taken half a second now so far on this lap out of Samurai as well. Those extra couple laps helping him a lot. Samurai and Birdie, who pitted on the same lap. Birdie's tyres might be slightly more worn due to that spin. But Birdie playing the perfect number 2 driver to Samurai. They're coming up to a lapped car. Samurai might even get a bit of DRS from Adam here. 1.1. Look at how much Fnatic is taking out of Samurai. It's crazy. And he might even dip it under a second. He will. There's the detection. I guess for Samurai's sake, he's lucky he has Adam for DRS too. This is going to get very interesting, because Fnatic is just one of those who knows he's not in the fight for the championship, but he's still in the fight for these wins. He's been the star of the second half of the season. He wants a 3rd win in Tier 2, which would actually equal Samurai's total this season. Samurai staying behind Adam again for DRS, or whether Adam's on new tyres, doesn't matter. Samurai's ahead now. He's got the DRS to at least hold off Adam. And Dello just trying to stick with these guys. He knows Birdie has that penalty. Birdie will probably finish 5th. Maybe if you take Oren's pens out 4th. So Dello knows he can still get a podium here. But now Fnatic has arrived on the back of Samurai. And Adam is... who invited him? But I'm sure he'll get lapped soon by these lot. There we go. They have to watch themselves, because Birdie can't see the rear there of Fnatic. He's done well not to run into the back of him. Orange looks like he's struggling slightly. Callum, let's just keep a close eye on Callum. He's 15 seconds off the lead, but he has the newest tyres, I believe. 5 laps. I don't think the 2-stop's really going to work out for him. Maybe he can overtake an RB or so, and that can help them in the championship. Oh, and speaking of the RBs, Yonder has had a moment. And that's going to surely make Callum overtake an RB now. Yonder has had a spin. And that's lost them crucial points. But 5 laps to go then, and these 5 are going to set the stage for the season finale next week in Brazil. It looks like no matter what, both championships are going to go down to the wire. Here comes Fnatic then, on the back of Samurai. And Samurai sits in behind. What does Birdie do? Because Oren's now lost DRS, actually. The top 3 are actually pulling a bit away. Samurai now needs to fight back ahead of the Haas. Now we're going to see what the straight line speed is like with Fnatic. And look at that. Samurai's not really gaining that much. Fnatic's straight line speed really helping him out at the moment. So does Samurai just let Birdie go to have a go at him? Not too sure, because that would put him back into the clutches of Oren. It's going to be close. Maybe Samurai doesn't need... I mean, of course, the win would help a tremendous lot in his fight. But as long as he beats Oren again, it's looking more prominent that Brazil will decide it all. Because we'll go into the finale with them either level, or maybe Samurai will retake the championship lead with 1 race to go. He's only led the championship for 1 race all season. Back in round 6, Oren has led it for the majority. And Samurai, who was nearly 50 points behind Oren, just past the halfway stage, has got it down to 3. And it might be even less than that. That's his focus. Each race, close the gap, beat Oren. But with 4 laps to go, there are so many ways this could go. Right now, Samurai just trying his best to see if he can fight back at Fnatic. 6/10, but will it even close? It's just sticking around that area. He's barely gaining a 10th or 2. Fnatic's wings and his speed on the straights. How is Samurai going to get past him? It's got to be at an unconventional area, like a corner or whatnot. Because right now it's just not enough. Look at Dello on the back of Oren trying to take a few more points off. Luckily, they're 7.7 ahead of Grush. If Oren does get a pen, he'll only lose out to Dello. But right now, Birdie just keeping within a second around about of these 2. But he's definitely not going to let Oren through. Laps are ticking down. What must be going through the minds of these lot? Oren, Samurai. Bit wide there. You can see Samurai's front right starting to degrade. 3 to go of the Tier 2 Season 12 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Birdie has certainly dropped back now. He's going to be under pressure because he knows he's going to lose out to these 2 anyway with the time pen. But if Oren gets post-race pens, it might, amazingly out of all this, it might be another P4 for Birdie because Dello is looking good for a podium at the moment. Top 2. Samurai's now outside of a second. Has he got DRS? No. This might be it. Fnatic might have just done it again. But Birdie moving left to try and break the toe. Oren is not close enough. And Birdie's got plenty of battery to use if so. These 2 have been making contact all race. Started at lap 4 on turn 9. And then Oren got his elbows out a bit too much. We're coming on to lap 27 at turn 9. And once again, Oren just doesn't have the battery compared to Birdie. Birdie, who's protecting his teammate. He's been doing an excellent job all season of that. Yannick now gets a time pen. So that could be close between him and Callum. That could be very detrimental between RB and Aston. Every point matters. Oren over the curb. Wide. Heading into the final couple laps now. Looks like Samurai is just going to lose out on this win. As Dello to the inside. Spies a gap. Oren. There's not really enough space. Whether Oren close the door again or Dello barged his way past. Either way, Dello's now ahead of Oren. And Oren slides out of turn 1. I'm sure he is going to be extremely angry with himself, maybe others. This race hasn't exactly gone how he wanted to. He can just see that championship slipping away. And the worst part is, it's not the first time it's happened. Yes, there will be 1 more race to go to see if Oren can redefine his season and claim back the ultimate redemption story. But right now, what looked like a comfortable championship is not exactly going his way now. As Birdie and Dello fight away again. It's a cool scrap. Oren! That was a mega send of acceleration and slide into the apex and on the exit there. Somehow didn't take out Dello or Birdie. Samurai falling ever further behind. And Birdie sticking in front of these two. And the more they fight, the more Garouche gets within a 5-second territory of Oren as well, in case of any post-race penalty. But right now, if Samurai finishes second, Oren will inherit fourth in the game result. But due to, if he gets a pen, it might drop down to fifth or maybe even sixth. I think no matter what, Samurai is going to go into the final race of the season. After closing that gap, he's now going to make one of his own as Yonder's left. That kind of helps Aston out a little. I mean, that's a bit of a leftover prize for Aston. Oren still fighting away. Final lap of the Grand Prix then. And there's still fights. Dello knows he can probably beat Birdie here. Maybe Birdie's 3-second time penalty isn't legit. Maybe he got a warning in the pit lane. That weird warning I was on about earlier. Who knows? We'll find out later. But I think the two definites are Fnatic is definitely going to win this race and Samurai is going to lead the World Championship with one race to go after trailing nearly 50 behind at the halfway mark. This has been a very, very, very crucial, exciting, excruciatingly interesting race through conflict and carnage and classic Tier 2 chaos. And actually the last lap is probably one of the least chaotic laps because they're all pretty spaced out. So IOR Fnatic, the star of the second half of the season in the Stars and Stripes livery, is going to go for a hat-trick of wins in the second half of Tier 2. As we have yellows at the start of Sector 3, at the end of Sector 3. IOR Fnatic, he's going to do it again. He's going to win in Abu Dhabi. Samurai in P2 is going to do enough to now be the new championship leader with one race to go. Birdie crosses the line. Dello inherits third. Oren will move up to fourth. Birdie down to fifth. Gruce actually lost some time at the end there in sixth. Callum seventh. He beat both RBs in the end of Yannick. And OG will get points on debut. Good for him. And Yonder's AI car, we'll see if that even classifies. Maybe we'll get disqualified, but he'll finish in 10th. But 3 points was the gap between Samurai and Oren heading into today. We take the game result, and Samurai will then lead by 3 points at the minimum heading into the final race. If Oren gets a penalty, 11.5, that would drop him down to 6th. Wow. So it'll either be 3 points or 6. No. 3, 10, 3 behind, 7. So it'll either be 3 points or 7 points. But that is still a winner-takes-all situation because if they are level, Oren wins. Oren has 7 wins this season. Samurai has 3. If Oren trails by 7, wins the race, no matter what Samurai does, even if he's second and they're level, Oren still has a chance. So I think even if Oren does get a penalty, 2 penalties, 3 penalties, it doesn't matter. There's a big gap from Grush to Yannick. If Oren gets a pen, even if he doesn't, it's still a winner-takes-all situation in Brazil. But what a race. What a crazy finale we have in store. Fnatic wins. A brilliant race from him. Once again, the strategy worked out. The pace was great. He's done it again. But Samurai, I'm sure he might be a bit annoyed not to get the win, but he will be very happy that he now goes into the final race as the leader. We're breaking that trend. Usually there's one guy who leads the whole thing with one right behind, and at the end he just hangs on. But this is not like the previous seasons we've had in Tier 2. 12 seasons, and this will be the 7th that goes down to the wire. It might even be the 8th, actually. Season 2, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11. No, yeah, 7th. I was right. So there we have it. Wow. There we go. Quickly get the race director. Get the rest. Come on. There we go. Just want to quickly check. Did Birdie... He got 2 warnings on lap 40. And... Ooh, that could be interesting.
He got all his warnings around the lap he pitted. That could be very interesting. Whether or not he clipped it, I don't know, but could Birdie get a podium post-race? That'd be the most Birdie thing to do, considering he hasn't had one this season. But anyway, let's get the top three and to the party. It's going to be quite a very interesting couple of interviews. Hope you all enjoyed that race. Hope you all enjoyed this season so far. We've got one to go then. And it's going to be very eventful in 1 week's time. What even was the podium? Fnatic, Samurai, Della. I can't interview... Oh, no, I can interview Della. He's got an Xbox account. There we go. I lost my voice after the first lap or two. I had a few voice cracks on like lap 4 or 5, but then I had to kind of simple it out for the next 10 laps, and it's okay now, I guess. Right, we'll wait for them to join. There we go. Fnatic's joined. First in the race, first to join. Fnatic, are you there, mate?
Yep.
Hello. Have you included your audio?
Yep.
Awesome. We'll still wait for Samurai and Dello to join, but yeah, I might just start this early. But yeah, you have done it again, my friend. The star of the second season delivers once again your third race victory after Baku and Vegas and now here in Abu Dhabi. What a brilliant drive. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? You qualified. Where'd you qualify?
I qualified
P8 or
P8.
something. P8, yeah. So once again, just doesn't really matter where you start from. You're just in that train. You make your way up. You get the strategy right by staying out a few laps later. You make your way back up through. You have the pace. You have the battery. You have the straight line speed, which was crazy. To gloriously win that. So yeah, Samurai joins the party now. Samurai, are you there, mate?
Yep.
Have you included your audio?
Yes.
Great. All right. We'll carry on with Fnatic then. Let's begin. So, Fnatic, a brilliant win. What are your thoughts then on the qualifying race and how you thought it went? And obviously, yeah, congratulations on the win. How are you feeling?
Well, to be honest, I didn't expect to get the win from my quali pace. So overall, it was a very good surprise indeed. But I knew the only way I was going to be able to fight for the podium, if not the win, was by going a few laps longer than the rest, because I know this track is not the greatest on tyre wear, so I maximised my setup for low wing and maximising traction, so I knew that I wouldn't get repassed down the straights in the vital laps, so it was a nice surprise to win in the end, and I think the tyre delta with the staying out a couple of laps longer helped me win today.
Yeah, exactly. And that once again just propels you up the order in the championship with Toby not racing, your teammate. I think you now surpass him in points, and you're pretty close to Yonder as well. So fifth, who knows, with Yannick, maybe even fourth is still on the cards. Absolutely steaming up the order, both literally in the standings and today. Once again, it was a brilliant drive. And yeah, while both championships and all the people involved were around you, you got on with it like you should and schooled them all in a way. But yeah, very well done. And what are your thoughts heading into next week's finale at Brazil?
Brazil, I would say it's a bit like Mexico for me. I can either perform well or be somewhere in the top 5, but I'll try and focus on my race setup again to obviously try and aim myself for a podium and possibly the win again if possible. So
perfect. Well, yeah, for now, very well done once again.
Thank you.
3 wins in the last 6 or so races is half of them or whatnot. Amazing consistency, and Oh, I really wish you were here the whole season. It could have maybe even been a three-way fight. But either way, very well done. And I'm going to quickly
Thank
re-invite
you.
Dello back because he's left. Dello, there we go. Right, moving on to P2 today. But I think we have a new P1 in the championship with one race to go. It's going to be one of the all-time classic fights because this is no ordinary season fight between Samurai and Oren because it's flipped right at the end. Samurai, you are the new Tier 2 championship leader heading into the final race of the season. You trailed by 3 points, and after today, at the minimum, it will be 3 in your favour. It could even go up to 7 post-race, whatever. But for now, let's talk about that race. And how are you feeling? I think that's the first question I should say. What are the feels like right now?
I mean, I'm speechless about the championship because this is what I wanted, and finally everything paid off. So I'm just glad what I did. I did the way I did. So about the race, I think it could have gone better for me, but it's still good points. So I couldn't do anything about Fnatic. He was too fast at the end. But second place is still great points, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, exactly. I know, once again, like the last few, you've put a lot of work into this and it's paying off. I'm sure it must have been pretty nervous the whole time. You qualified on the second row with Oren, and then right at the end, were you surprised? A bit of a word on your teammate getting his first pole, and once again, helping you out quite a bit in the race, being the perfect rear gunner.
Yeah, I was screaming that let's go, Birdie. I was so happy for him. Finally, he starts from he starts from the front row. Finally, we can manage something here. Maybe put up a show or something.
Yeah, so it was a Williams 1-2 for quite the majority of that first stint. Obviously, when Oren pitted, were you always going to pit the following lap just to cover him off?
That was the plan. If I stayed out 1 or 2 laps, I think that would have been the perfect plan to win this race. But yeah, I think in my head at that moment it was that to cover him off.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had a pretty good fight with him. I think it was a very smart play from you on your end. You didn't blast too much. Oren was quite low, and you made your way through the order. Early on, you and Oren both got Dello, and then after the stops, you and Oren once again both got Dello, which was quite funny. But then obviously Birdie came out the pits, and he was obviously going to close up to you lot. Were you aware of everything that happened behind you between your teammate and Oren?
Not everything. The first thing when I was in first place and on the end of the second DRS zone to the left-hander, something happened behind me because the red arrow came really close to me, and yeah, I didn't know what happened, but yeah, after the second thing I saw was when Birdie went from P3, I think, or P2 to P5. I have no idea what happened, but there was something, I think.
So just trying to get Dello to join, but yeah. And then obviously you saw Fnatic carving his way up through, and you're no stranger, of course, to leading races and seeing Fnatic in second, closing up to you. You got a bit of a helping hand of DRS from a lapped car for one lap. I think that just helped you out to delay what was looking like the inevitable by one more lap. But yeah, Fnatic's straight line speed was unmatched once he got ahead. But yeah, I think the more important thing to focus on that, yeah, you were nearly 50 points behind, just put beyond the halfway point, and you've chiseled at it bit by bit to 32, to 7, to 3, and now heading into the final race, you're not the hunter, you're the hunted. You are now leading the championship, 3 points behind to now 3 points ahead at the worst case scenario for Oren, because if he gets any sort of penalty post race, which he probably will be entitled to 1 or 2, could drop him from 4th to 6th. And I don't know if Birdie's penalty is legit too, because he got all his warnings when he pitted with the the entry thing being weird.
Yes.
So Oren could either finish 4th or 6th here. I think you'll be fine, and Fnatic will be fine. I don't really know if you'd get anything because I didn't see anything. But I think either way, you're either going to go into this final race with either a 3-point lead or a 7-point lead.
Wow.
Now, while those two are very different because of the points, I think I can still safely say it's still a winner-takes-all situation, because if Oren wins and you're second in your level, like I told you, Oren has more wins, so he'd win. So it's simple. It's as simple as that. Whoever wins in Brazil of you two will win the championship, but it's not all as simple as that, because you have that little deficit of those few points. Because if this guy, a Fnatic, wins again, then it really will be down to those little few points, and all that hard work might just pay off. I don't know how you're. Well, I have a sprinkling of feeling of how you might be feeling right now, because it's a very cool feeling. But there's still 1 to go, and now you kind of got to change it all. It's got a bit of a 180. You've been hunting him all season, to now Oren's the one hunting you. With just 1 to go, so it's going to be quite crazy. But yeah, what are your thoughts with 1 to go, the finale in Brazil, the championship on the line? What do you think you're going to try and do?
I think it's going to be a great race. I love Brazil, and I think it's a great track also. Maybe the tire wear going to be a bit of an issue, but I will just adjust myself to make it perfect.
Well, we shall see. Brazil, no strangers to a bit of weather as well that could play a part in the qualifying or the race. I'm sure it'll be a finale to remember. This has been certainly a season to remember, where we really didn't think we'd have a championship fight at times, but this will be, of the 12 seasons we've had, this will be the 7th one that will go down to the wire. Oren versus Samurai, Samurai versus Oren now, and things are certainly getting heated up. Ever since the halfway mark, every week has been getting closer and closer to these moments, and in 1 week's time, we are going to crown a Tier 2 world champion. And in terms of the constructors, I might have to work that out later on, but the 2 RBs finished around 8th and 10th, and the 2 Astons finished around 9th and 4th or 6th or whatnot. So I think Aston have slightly increased their lead on RB. It's more looking around the 15 to 20 point margin. So I guess if Oren loses, he's still got at least maybe the constructors, but he is not going to be happy considering everything that happened in Season 9 and whatnot. But anyway, that's for a different time. 1 week to go. I'm sure he'll reflect. He's got a lot of work to do. But for now, very well done to you on a P2.
Thank you.
I'm sure the win must have been annoying to lose, but you got to look at the bigger picture, and this is surely probably the best thing yet for you. So yeah, very well done. And
Thank you.
guess I'd say moving on to P3, but Dello is struggling to join, so I might have to go into a Discord with him. I'll quickly just double check. Yeah, he is in the Discord. Alright, I'll quickly join that, and then I might talk to you lot after. Interviews, there we go. Alright, I'm in the Discord now with P3 man Dello. Don't know if his audio is included, maybe he gets autos, or doesn't matter. Dello, are you there, mate? Hi, mate. So, bit of an eventful race for you. A podium in the end. P3. You qualified second. Yeah. So, let's just start with quali then. Qualifying, you delivered a very great lap in the end.
Um, just take us through how you thought about it. Did you think the lap was good? Did you think you had pole at the end? How did you feel when Birdie just pipped you? Yeah, you were flying in that on that last lap. Birdie literally just came out of nowhere. So, the start. You got a good start. You managed to get ahead of him for the first half of the lap, and then he managed to fight back at you. It looked like towards as the first stint went on, you just slowly started to fall back a little behind Samurai and Oren and whatnot, but still stuck with them. Pitted, I think, second of the front run. I think you were the first to pit onto the hards to go to the end because Callum went for the two stop. So you were obviously on the oldest tyres. And while you did get a good undercut and a bit of a gap, they did catch you quite early. So I think overall you actually did pretty well to stick with them and still fight and beat a few of them by the end, considering their tyre length. How was the second half of the race, do you feel, for you, with the battles and the positions and the tyres? Yeah, exactly. Some good points on the board as well. And another podium. Uh, so yeah, obviously Birdie had the penalty, and Oren, I think he just cooked his tyres a bit much because he fell off in the last lap or two to you. The gaps were getting quite big between one another. The last lap was probably one of the least chaotic laps of the whole race. Um, so in the last however many laps, you started to maybe piece it together that you could probably get a podium here, or what? True. Yeah. So yeah. No, I did catch that the last corner. You went to the inside. There didn't really look like a gap. Was Oren already turning for the corner, or and you were just there, or did he like turn in on you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, yeah. I wouldn't, I wouldn't put it past Oren, considering that's not the only time he did that race of turning in on someone. I don't know if you were there when he at turn one when he had an incident with Birdie, but he kicked off a little. You were right behind. He just turned in on Birdie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They made. I think there was three distinct incidents. One was at the start on like lap 4, and then the other two were on the same, like within the span of half a minute. The first one looked a bit 50-50. I think Birdie couldn't really do anything, and Oren turned in too much and tagged Birdie, and that weird contact thing happens, and Oren slid a little. That was probably just a racing incident. But the other two were, from what it looks like, I think they were both on Oren, because Oren forced Birdie off, which made him stay ahead, and then 3 corners later he turns in on Birdie and spins him at turn 1. So that's what I'm debating, whether he's going to get 4th or 6th, or whether Birdie gets his pen removed. He could be 4th, 5th or 6th, depending if he gets reported as well. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But the funny thing was, it was the opposite. You'd think Birdie would be the one causing all the stuff to Oren, but it was the other way around. Oren was the one, like he could have just overtaken Birdie normal. I'm sure he would have been fine with it, but no, Oren just didn't want to have any of it. Like, if Birdie's hit, get him out of the way. So yeah, whether it's going to be 3rd, 4th, or whatnot, it's still a pretty good race all round. Some good points on the board. And yeah, final question: how are you feeling, if you are going to race, for the finale next week in Brazil? Oh, well, you never know. Fair enough. I'm sure you'll still be right in the fight. But Brazil, there's a lot more opportunities there than Abu Dhabi, I think. Weather, 2-stop, fuel loads, strategies, setups. It's going to be quite a spectacle, a lot on the line. It will, all these question marks of when, here and there, but we know now it will all get decided this time next week. We will know who is world champion in Tier 2, both drivers and constructors wise. And we have drivers like you and Fnatic and Grush and Yannick and whatnot not involved, but they will be probably more important than Callum. They will be just as important as Samurai and Oren to decide this. So we will find out in 1 week's time. That has been the Tier 2 Season 12 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the penultimate race, the final pillar that sets the stage for the 7th down to the wire title showdown in EXFL Tier 2. Samurai versus Oren. Samurai has gone into the lead now for the first time since round 6 ahead of Oren. What can he do to fight back? The championship's on the line. We'll find out who will be the new world champion in 1 week's time.